This is an introduction on how to use OneNote. And what I've got here is I've got my OneNote set up, and I've got a demonstration class down here, and I've got a demonstration, say teacher diary, and I've got some other classes up here that I've actually started using already. So let's have a look at maybe the teacher diary. What we can do with the teacher diary is, if we click on it, we can actually set up, I've set up a snippet of my actual timetable up here, which is just really useful to do. And I can, I've got different pages here, so this is, maybe a set of outcomes, etc. for a class or whatever. And I've got different pages that I've set up over here. So I can move between the teacher diary and the demonstration class, or my robotics class, or my Year 11 applied computing class, just by clicking down here, right? So in terms of navigation, see this symbol here, we can actually hide that symbol, and so it gives us more space. But what we can do here is we can then go and find those particular classes, and if I click on the teacher diary, there's the teacher diary, etc. If I'm not happy with that particular system, I can go back here to this symbol and click on there, and now I can see them all here nice and clearly. So navigation with OneNote is probably the major issue that we've got to get through, and then apart from that, we've got some things that we can actually teach you that are pretty awesome to do. So let's have a look at this demonstration class. This is the demonstration class that I set up in the setup part of OneNote. So you can have a look at that video on how to set up a class. And if you look over here, we've got across the top here, we've got a collaboration space, content library, teacher only part. Then each of these, the test grade 5, test grade 3, test year 6 and test year 7, they are effectively students. Okay, so they would actually be the student name. So it would be Alana and John and Matthew and Stephen. And they would be automatically populated there using the system that we've done in the previous video. So my names of my students are test grade 3, test grade 5, etc. So when I click this little arrow down here, it actually shows exactly the same things as is up here, but down here. So you can choose which way you want it to be. You might choose to have it so that it goes down like this, or you might choose that it's better up here. Personally, I like it better up here, but if you've got many students this way, it becomes a little bit more complex. So that's the first part of the navigation. The second part of the navigation is actually what happens in here. So you'll see how I've got a welcome page, and this welcome page is just welcoming you to the teams. It gives you some information about your particular class. What we really want to deal with is the collaboration space, the content library, and the teacher only part. They're the major areas that we want to deal with. So let's have a look at the collaboration space. This is where students and teachers can collaborate together. So students have access to writing in here, you have access to writing in here. And what happens is, as the student writes in here, their name is assigned to whatever they write, and so you're able to see clearly which student is writing on here. So if a student's writing some silly things, you can just say, hey Johnny, please don't do that again, and you can delete it very quickly. What we can do is we can add stuff to this collaboration space. So we can add a whole new chapter. So we might call this design tools. And in this design tools, for my particular subject, we might be dealing with a 3D printer, etc. And we might put information about here, and students might collaborate about design tools in this space. So it's really a space for connecting everybody up. and see, we can add a page to this. So if I put in a name of the page here, so this is 3D printers, right? You'll notice how over here it becomes 3D printers, and I can put stuff about 3D printers here, and then I can add a page, and you'll see how it's untitled until I type in here. So I might say Fusion 360, which is a program we use, and how to draw 3D objects in Fusion. Okay, and so we can see we can just move backwards and forwards between the pages, clicking on them just easily. We can go back to a particular space and have a look at that. So we can add as many collaboration spaces as we like and as many pages as we like to that. So it's very powerful. I want you to have a look at this little arrow here, this back arrow. This takes us back to the main page of our notebook. And so we've dealt with the collaboration space. Now we want to go to the content library. Now the content library is about you putting information up. So this is a space where you can put information about your subjects right there. Now we do put a lot of our stuff on the hub, and we would expect that the hub would be the main place that we'd put information. And you could certainly link stuff backwards and forwards between this and the hub. And as the hub, as Schoolbox becomes more powerful, the next iterations of Schoolbox will actually give us more connectivity for OneNote backwards and forwards through Teams to assignments, etc. So the more we can use this, the more we'll get to understand what's going on, the more we've got this interaction between the hub and OneNote and the hub and Teams. So feel free to really dive into OneNote and dive into Teams so that you can understand it, and it will work seamlessly with the hub, and it will become more and more powerful. So this is where we can put information for the students. Now, the students can't edit this. They can actually copy it, but they can't actually edit it. So that's fantastic for you. And you can put up different chapters of different things, you know, and put all sorts of information in here. What kinds of information can we put in here? We can link YouTube videos. We can actually add emails. We can add Word documents, all sorts of things, and just put it in here, and we'll show you how to do that in a second. So that's our content spot. So going back up on that arrow, and now we go to the teacher only space. The teacher only space is fantastic for dealing with stuff that students cannot see. So for example, we might have a curriculum document, and I've got all my curriculum documents here, and I'm just going to grab this particular document and I'm going to drag it into this space, and it's pretty simple. I just drag it in. Now at this point I get a choice. Do I want to attach it as a file that I can click on and up comes the file, or do I want to insert a printout? Now I think in this case inserting a printout is probably the better way to go. So I've just pressed print, insert printout, and it takes its little time, but once it's taken that time, it inserts the actual document inside the actual page. Now this is fantastic, except I can't edit this document at all in this state. All it is a picture of the document. So I might have in there some notes, and I've got some coding notes here on dealing with Raspberry Pi, and you'll notice how I've got whole sections in here. So this is just something that I can use for notes for me. What if I wanted to add, for example, the stuff that's in the robotics document over here into here? Well, that is a really simple process. Let's click on the robot stuff, and you can see here I've got a number of sections, but it's the design area. I've got some 4 pages there, and I actually want to get that into this demonstration part, and I want to get it into the teacher only part. So what I do is I right click on the design, and what I do is I move or copy. And this is what comes up. And now I can actually copy. So what I'm looking for is this is the one I want to copy it to, and this little plus symbol, I need to expand that out by clicking on it. So I click on it, and now I go to the section that I want to actually put it in. And the section I want to put it in is the teacher only part, because that's where I want to go. So I'll click on this little plus sign, and it'll be in the teacher only space. I'll just put it in the whole space there. It's going to create a whole part there, a whole chapter in the teacher only part. And what I want to do, I really just want to copy it. I don't want to move it, I want to copy it. Because if I move it, it's moving it out of that document. Whereas I want to keep it in that document, and I just want to make a copy of it. So if I press copy, so you'll see here, I'm still in my robotics part, but if I click back down here onto my demonstration OneNote thing, over here I've got the design part, the very part that I was trying to copy, and it's immediately there. And there's all my information from that. So that is a really fantastic tool moving between each notebook and adding stuff between each notebook. Sometimes you might end up filling this whole space and having lots and lots and lots of notebooks, and it just becomes kind of unworkable. There's too much space here, and you're looking and going, I just want to clean it all up, right? What we can do is we can take, for example, I'll take this robotics one. I click on the robotics one, and what I want to do is I just want to close this notebook. So I've right-clicked it, and I go down to close this notebook, and it closes it up for me. So that just means that I've got less notebooks here. I can always open that notebook again by going File, Open, and it gives me a list of the notebooks that I've got all available here, and I can go and look for that. There it is, and if I click on it, and it will open up again. There's the robotics thing. I can also say, well, actually I want this one to be at the bottom, and so to make this one at the bottom, I just drag it down, and now it's at the bottom. So our navigation for OneNote is extremely intuitive. It's extremely good. So let's just go back to this demonstration thing, and again I'm clicking this back arrow. So that is the teacher only part. So we've dealt with the content library where everything, all our content is. I've dealt with the teacher only part where I might put the actual curriculum planning documents in there so that I can get to them really easily. And the collaboration space where all the students can actually work together with you in a space. But this is where the real power of this is. See, each student, they work in their OneNote, and as they are working in their OneNote, because you've set it up the right way, you can actually go and find out what they're actually writing in there. And I suppose when you've got 27 students in a class, going across this way is not as good as going down here. So if I click on here, I can actually look at all the students much more intuitively if I am going down this way. And so if I go to test grade 3, I can actually tell that student, I can put stuff in here. They will have written stuff in here. And I can then tell them to do stuff in here. So for example, if I say, John, great work. Please do the following exercises for homework. 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. That's really useful because you can actually do that, or you can actually send it to them as a big section. So for example, I'll go back here. So this is that part where all the students, they have their own individual workbook, and you can look at their workbook without them having to hand it in. You can just go and look at their workbook. Are they actually putting notes in, etc.? And you'll notice how that one had a number of things in here, but this one only has media, emails, and homework. If I go back, this one has only got class notes and homework. And that's because that particular student or I have set up those particular pages in a particular way. So this really means that we can really customize their workbook to them. So that's the major issues of navigation and how things work. Now let's look at what we can do with this. So let's go to our content library, and when we initially set up our content library, or when we initially set up our OneNote, it actually comes up with all of this stuff preloaded. So it says, you know, this is a place for materials, for readings, etc. If I want to delete all of that, which it's just cluttering up everything, I can just press Shift and delete it all. And what I can now do is I can now do all sorts of things in here. So let's have a look at what I can do. So if we go to insert, we can actually insert spreadsheets and link files, etc. But the quickest way to do something is to actually just drag it in. And so let's have a look at what we can drag in. So drag in here, okay? So we saw before that I dragged in a Word document, and the way I did it before was to actually insert printout. Well, this time I'm just going to insert the file. And so what happens is when I insert the file, I can actually click on that file and it will actually open that particular file. I can do that with Excel documents as well, so I can go and look for an Excel document and drag it in just in the same way. I can do that with PowerPoints. I can do that with most programs, audio programs, etc. I will show you how to drag in a link. So I'm going to go to YouTube and pick up a song. Okay, so what I've done is I've grabbed a link, I've copied that link by pressing Control-C and Control-V. What it does is it starts by actually putting the link in, but then it converts it to the actual file. And if I click on that file, I can grab these little handles and I can expand this file up. And so now I can press this and it will actually play that particular video right here in that space. It takes a little time to actually upload all the file part, just like YouTube normally does, but it'll start playing any second. So I can click it again and it will stop it. So you do have to be aware that your ads will come up if you aren't using YouTube Premium. So just be aware of that. So here's some ads of mine, which is fantastic little ads, you know, praise the Lord, worship things. But just be aware that your ads can come on up. By the way, you'll notice how this little normal view, I can click on that and it expands it up so that I can fill the whole page, and then I can expand it back down by clicking on that again. Another little navigation technique. So I'm just going to go over to a new page, a new chapter. Let's have a look here. And what we can do over here is we can go to the draw tool. Now, this is a very, very powerful tool. It's especially good for maths. It's especially good if you're going to have the students to be writing on the screen with their their little pen, writing away, and it can convert it to text. So if I click on draw, so what I can do with this is I can actually write on here or draw different things on here, create little things out of it. I could use my pen to create little boxes, etc. Okay, let's look at the ink to maths function. Click on that, and I just begin to write in there, draw in there. And it puts it in there, and I can just insert it there, and you'll see how it's drawn it there at that spot. I just want to move it out of the way, and so that's really good for maths tools, etc. I can highlight words. I can of course draw around a section. I can actually use these tools up here to create different shapes and sizes, and I can change my color palette and the size of my stuff. So if I change it to there, and we'll make it thicker, press OK, and then I start writing, you can see it's gotten thicker. So that's great for artwork, it's great for and all these things. We can just delete all that as well. Each part we can delete so that it's all nice and clear. I can delete that and delete. So really good drawing tools. We've got a history tool, a review tool, so it's got the spelling and thesaurus and research stuff. We can change the view, so we can zoom in and out under view. We can look at our learning tools. Now, the dictate function is not working at the moment, so ignore that. But we can go to our class book, and we can add, remove teachers. We can create a class book within there. You can do professional development within there, etc. So this is basically what we've got to do. We've been able to add symbols, we've been able to deal with math symbols, adding chapters, add pages, add video. The brilliant thing, there's one other thing that we can deal with, is actually dealing with emails. And emails is really useful, particularly in your teacher diary. Okay, so it's not really something that you'd put in your classroom, because you don't really want to do that way. But you could actually, if you got an email from somebody that you needed to make sure that you kept for someone or for something, you just need to go to Outlook. So let's go to Outlook. This is my Outlook, and I've got an everyday rewards email that I might want to keep. Of course, I really don't want to keep that one, but I can just drag that literally onto there. And again, it comes up with insert printout or insert file. So this could be very useful if you wanted to keep information on a student or that sent something to you, or keep information from a parent that sent something to you. And we can insert it as a printout. Good thing about that is you can't change anything in there, or you can attach it as a file where it'll actually go to that file and open up that file in Outlook. So I can insert that in there as a printout, and the printout begins to show itself here, and I can see that there's my weekly favorites. There we go. This is sweet potato gold. Wow, it's $2.50. So I might want to keep an email nice and clearly right there. I hope this was helpful. I know it's a lot of information. My hope is that you would go back over this video a number of times to learn how to do it, and hopefully you'll be able to ask me any questions and I'll be able to answer them.